We're now about to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So how's it going in there?
Well, it's been a rough week with my back, so I'm starting to feel a little better now.
Okay.
It's been one of those weeks, where you wake up on the morning and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I do.
There's a tweak there.
Yeah.
And you kind of know when it happened, and you're like, all right, so what do I do?
So you can identify when it happens. Some people can't. They just wake up, and it's like, what the heck did I do?
No, I
know.
felt it pop.
Okay. All right.
I felt it pop, and I'm like,
low back?
all right, yeah, lower back. Yep. Just, the usual
Yep.
musculoskeletal.
Ice it.
Yeah, and then I have a pill that my doctor gave me that kind of eases it out.
Yep.
Helps you.
Yep.
So yesterday I was mostly behind the desk day.
Yep.
Just kind of like getting up, just to keep moving.
Yeah,
once
you got
in a
it.
while.
It's like every 20 minutes. I've been married to a chiropractor for over 40 years. It's like every 20 minutes, get up and move around.
Other than that, it
and
was
ice it.
rest
Yep.
with lumbar support
Yep.
and just kind of keep things in place.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. There you go. So that's it looks like.
But I had so much paperwork to do.
Well, yeah, good excuse to catch up with the paperwork. I get it.
Lord.
So I'm looking around, Pete. It looks like Christmas here. Did you get a lot of new stuff? I see all kinds of empty boxes and everything like all over the place. What do we have going here?
New
cameras?
The cameras that are on the remote kit are not weatherproof.
Which ones? The black ones or the white ones?
The white ones.
Okay, they're not weatherproof, so we can only use those indoors.
Right. But those housings that are out there, I think they're still out there. Maybe they're in the other room. Somebody made housings for them that are weatherproof.
Okay.
That still encompass all the features of the camera. So the camera can do its job in a weatherproof enclosure.
Nice.
And so
Great idea.
Because last year we had people over them with umbrellas at graduation.
Yes.
This is mainly for
Understood.
Mainly for graduation.
I understand.
Good Lord.
I get it.
And then also that massive tripod there is a lighting tripod that we're going to adapt to mount those cameras to.
Okay.
And that we can crank them up to 14 feet if we need to.
Yeah, that is a big one.
They're massive, yes.
Yeah, they are very big.
But A, they're not going to go anywhere in a wind situation.
Okay.
B, they're deployable anywhere.
Okay.
And so...
Yeah.
And now people can't stand up in front of a camera type of thing.
Yes.
So all those...
It's the old, sit down, you're in front of the camera, move to the right or the left.
Right, and we can be a little bit farther away, too, and set those up.
Okay.
So I got those, too. And I'm just trying to prepare for when we have the truck, too. So, I'm trying to think of things that work in both places.
Yep.
Type of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, mainly for graduation. And then I had to buy something for the city council meeting. I had to buy the desk microphones that they use because we couldn't figure out, well, we could, but it'd be incredibly hard to get them out of city council chambers without almost having to tear apart the furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so deeply entrenched in the furniture.
Yep, got it.
So it was actually cheaper to buy new ones than to pay somebody to take those all out and put those all back in.
Understood. Okay.
Believe it or not.
No, I do believe it. I absolutely. Well, it's like renovating a building versus tearing down and building new. And, a lot of people think, you can renovate it. It's less expensive. No, it's super expensive to do that.
Right.
It's not cost effective at all in some cases. In some cases it is, but in some cases not at all.
But with things that the way they have been, we've been doing more and more meetings out of building. Like school committee met because they had to have a big space for public forum. So now we'll have a kit that we can deploy those microphones out to any location like that, and it'll make life a little easier.
Oh, nice. Okay. So good. Yeah. I mean, I came in, I was like, what the heck? It's crazy in here.
Yeah, Brady and Kenny were in here afternoon assembling things, getting them ready because graduation obviously is tomorrow.
Coming up. Yep. It
tomorrow
is
and Friday.
Yep.
So
Yep.
We're up against it. So
what do we have for a weather I'm trying to remember.
Thursday looks okay. Friday possible thunderstorms, but that's always around this time of year.
Yeah.
There's always the threat of thunderstorms, and it's supposed to be in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
It's going to be warm.
It's going to get up there.
92 tomorrow, 82 on Friday with a chance of thunderstorms. So we're trying to prepare. Also, now we have to prepare for a 2-location event potentially.
Yes.
And the second location it's only going to be one camera. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
That's the best it's going to have to be. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we can get a second camera up there, but we're going to be set up on the field, and it's not quick to tear stuff down and move it.
Right. And when did they make the decision to in or out?
I think it was like noon or 1 o'clock, and by then it's too late for us to move.
Yeah, I know. So who's actually doing graduation? Who's filming that? Kenny or?
No,
Or-
Kenny's working for Jay.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jay needs help. So,
Yeah.
It's me and Brady and students.
Okay. Yep.
That's
Okay.
kind of how it was last year. We have a
Yeah.
couple students that are interested that want to do it. So
Good.
I'm like, all right, well, I'm putting you guys to work, and
Yeah, absolutely.
be prepared to actually work.
Yeah.
Not just operate, but
Right.
we're going to be working.
Working, right. Setting up, tearing down,
And I'm
whatever, yeah.
trying to make it simple as possible because I don't have to do sound. So
Mm-hmm.
I just have to get Jay sound. So I'm trying
Okay.
to make it as simple as possible for setup
Okay.
and tear down.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I know.
the big brain has to work a little bit before you jump into it.
Yeah, it's that time of year. Well, speaking of graduations.
And then Brewfest right after that.
I know. That's a whole different ball game.
Right? I mean, literally,
Yep,
you finish
Saturday.
with the Friday
I know.
graduation, then
Saturday's
Saturday
Brewfest.
morning at 8 o'clock, Jay and I will be over there getting set up for Brewfest.
So you guys are doing DJ? Is that what you're doing? What are you?
No,
what are
Jay
you
is
doing
doing sound for that. We have the Attic Band
Oh,
from
okay,
noon
that's
to
right. That's
1:30.
right. They have the entertainment coming in.
And Axis Band is going to, in the
Okay.
middle, I'm going to DJ the middle of it.
Okay.
Because we
sort of in
we-
between.
We didn't want to do 3 bands this year. It actually is going to work better that way, I think.
Yeah, I get it.
You know?
Yeah, give them
So
time to kind of see. Yeah.
You have an
I can see
opener.
that, yeah.
They can tear down. The other band can set up.
Yep.
There's plenty of, it's not rushed.
Yes. Exactly. Because a lot of people don't realize that. You can't just like set up and tear down in, a minute and a half.
Right.
It's kind of a big deal.
Well,
There's
that's
a
what
lot
we
of
were-
equipment.
That's what we were doing. It was like a 15-minute
Yeah.
turnaround,
That's,
but
that's really hard.
But unfortunately, Kenny normally helps with that one too. But he's going to be at 52 Sumner
Okay.
running the soundboard for a wedding.
I was on Sumner this earlier in the week. How far down is 50? I'm trying
It's
to
right at
find
the
where I was
beginning.
going. Oh, it's right at the beginning.
Right across from the Old Friendlies. The church across from the Old Friendlies.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't realize that. For some reason in my head, Pete, I had it way down at the other end, and I was like, but that's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
There is
I
a
get
church down the other end by
Yeah,
where
yeah.
where it turns into Allen Street.
Yep.
That is still an active church.
Yep.
That's still an active church.
Yep.
But the one on that end has been gone for quite some time, for years and years and years.
It's so funny because when I taught at Springfield College, I was in that area all the time because I supervised fieldwork students, and they were all over the greater Springfield area. I knew that like the back of my hand.
Yep.
But I've been working for the city now for 20 years, and I rarely go over there. And so,
Well, if you look, that Old Friendlies now is the Sumner Avenue Preschool.
correct. I did
They-
notice that because
they
I was going by
re-renovated
going, oh, okay.
The city bought it and renovated it.
Yep.
And now, so the city allows 52 Sumner, because it's after hours, to use that parking lot.
to use the parking lot. People can walk across.
Sure, it's
yeah,
great.
It's a good idea. Perfect.
It's wonderful for them.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about venue parking. It's right
Yep.
across the street.
Well, I had a friend who used to be the director of the Wisteria Hearst Museum, which has like zero parking.
I know.
But it's right near the Holyoke Senior Center. And
Well, now
it was the
it
same
is.
thing. Yeah, now it is. Right now it is. Well, yeah. For
When
the
I worked
last for the last 12 years or so.
When I worked at Channel 40, you had to fend for yourself.
Yeah, right. Oh no, that
'Cause
was
they
back in the day, Pete.
Yes.
But they used to do the same thing when they held weekend events at the Wisteria Hearst. They would use the Holyoke Senior Center. They had permission to use their parking lot, and that was huge. That was a tremendous help. So yeah, I'm good for Jay that he's able to do that.
Yeah.
Good,
and,
good, good.
and a sad note, I found out the old WHYN studios on the corner of Main and Thunderbird Way or whatever it is, Falcon Way.
Yeah.
They're moving out of that space after, I don't know, 30 years.
Wow, they were up there forever.
Yeah, they're moving. They're tearing. It's being in the process of being
Wow.
torn apart right now.
Wow.
Apparently,
Okay.
they're moving up the street, I guess,
Okay.
but I don't know how big a space it's going to be.
Yeah.
They really don't have anybody live in market anymore.
Yeah. Right.
There
I was
really
going to
is
say, I
nobody
don't know. I
live.
was going to say, like, how much space do they need now?
I think they're only going to have one
Yeah.
one studio.
Yeah.
And it's just for the news.
Yeah.
That's all. It's local.
Right. Yeah.
That's depressing.
It is depressing. I don't want to think about that.
And more so the fact that, we're coming online with a hyper-local station.
Yeah. Yeah.
The contrast between commercial media
Yes.
and
Yes. for sure.
And these LPFMs.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday at the, we had our annual Friends of the Westfield Senior Center meeting, and followed by a Friends board meeting.
Yep.
And that topic got brought up. I think Harry Rock had brought that up with our new, our new radio station. We're excited about that.
Students are working on designing logos right now.
Yeah, good for them. Well, we had a very productive and very active weekend in the Gorman household. So first of all, we have a graduate. We have a Holyoke Community College
Congratulations,
graduate.
Grace.
Yes, she got her degree in veterinary and animal science as a vet tech. So she's super excited. We were really proud of her. So graduation was Saturday, and as you might remember, Saturday was primarily a washout.
Yep.
It was, and they held the graduation at the Mass Mutual Center. So here's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The garage was open, right? So that's helpful.
Actually, it was open. Gary parked. He actually has a friend who has a law practice down in downtown Springfield. He was able to park there because it was the weekend. Nobody was around. And
lot right behind.
I don't even know where it was. He dropped us off.
Oh, okay.
Because we had the baby with us. That was, Grace really wanted Charlie there, and I did it for her because I just thought, this is going to be brutal. But we did it for Grace because she really wanted Charlie there. And I have to say, we got to, it was at the Mass Mutual Center. We got there. Gary dropped us off. Grace got dropped off earlier. Gary dropped her off earlier. And so we went in. It was Grace's friend Allie and myself and the baby, and then Gary parked the car, met us, and I found seating. I didn't want to be bothering anybody. I knew this baby was going to be up and down 1,000 times, which she was. So we were at the far end of the stage, and when we first got there was absolutely nobody in our section, and we took the front row balcony, and we were right near an exit into the hallway. So that was all great because, it was like gave us plenty of room to maneuver and roam around. And that's, basically what happened for the time that we were there. Kudos to HCC. I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. It was.
How many graduates did they have?
Vaguely? I have zero idea because I ended up in charge of this baby for the entire time, mostly because she would not go to Gary and she would not go to Allie. Oh. Even though Grace had said to me, Allie, she really likes Auntie Allie. And I said, I know she does. And if Allie was the only person there, Charlie would have been fine. And if Gary was the only person there, Charlie would have been fine with him. But they weren't, but I was there.
People overload.
So, yeah. So that was, so I was in charge of the baby. Hard to say, Pete, but what I will say is not as many graduates walked as got their degrees, obviously. Because, in fact, Grace said out of her class, there were a couple people out of her graduating. One of them had a planned surgery, and Grace said, we knew last year she wasn't going to be at the ceremony. And the other one, Grace said she ghosted us. We were like, come on, where are you? But that part of it was fine. The actual, I had a neighbor who asked me, he's an older gentleman, and asked me, he said, well, was it a dignified ceremony? And I said, it was dignified when it needed to be, and it was more of a festival when it needed to be.
That's community college, though.
Overall, but what?
That's a community college vibe.
It was, I felt like
right?
It was perfect. Yes, I felt like it was perfect.
I went to Stick. It was formal when it needed to be.
Yes.
And it was fun when it needed to be, and that was Stick.
And you know what? And the dean who was conferring the degrees, she said to the students when all the speeches were done, when we did the pomp and circumstance, we got everybody in. It was all dignified. When it came time they were going to walk across the stage, she said to them, get out your blowhorns. This is your moment in the sun.
Yeah.
Each person, and they had two, large screen TVs. And she told the students, she said, when your name is announced, that's when you are going to be on two large screen TVs. That's your moment.
Right,
you can
sure.
wave, you can point to your cap, do whatever you want to do.
And that's smart.
It was very smart.
Because you give a little license to do something
yes.
stupid.
Yes.
But that means it also says to people, You're going to be doing something stupid. Don't do something really stupid.
No, and nobody.
Right? Is exactly.
You know what, Pete? Nobody, not one of them, hundreds of graduates, not one of them did anything stupid. They met a wave. They did the heart. They pointed. If they decorated their cap, some of them turned around and they pointed. And even the decorations of the cap were beautiful. I mean, they were gorgeous. They were like works of. Grace spent like half a day working on hers, and she had Charlie's mom and vet tech and a paw print of an animal and a heart monitor for an animal. I mean,
but think about this.
Beautiful.
If you give somebody license to be a little silly,
yes,
they're going to be silly, but it's not going to be out of bounds because you've given them license to do it.
Exactly, Pete.
That's the problem with society nowadays. There's so many rules and stuff. People do it because they just now want to contravent the rule and they go to the extreme.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more, Pete. I felt like, that whole part of it was great. So that was the good. That was actually the great. And kudos to HCC. Now we come to my beef with the Mass Mutual Center. And I'm going to sound like Kenny because this is a rant. So at about 10 minutes to 1, everything's wrapped up. Mm-hmm. So we start leaving, and there were Holyoke Community College people, there along the way. Because you had to go, we had to go down a hall and up the stairs and, around the bend and over the river.
Were you in the arena or one of the halls?
No, we were in the arena.
Okay, yep.
And so what they did was when they had us go out, they had people kind of, saying, go this way, go that way. So, we followed the crowd. So when we went out, we get to the lobby. Now, we had texted Grace because, now you're trying to figure out, like, where are you going to meet to take some pictures, right? When we went in at 9:30, the sun had come out. And I thought, oh, that's fantastic. It's, actually, the rain went through, the sun is out, we're good to go. Well, when we came out, it was absolutely pouring rain. There was zero sun for the rest of the day. And my understanding was at 12:20, the heavens opened up, and that was it, right?
We got the Laurel Parade in at Mount Holyoke, and that was it.
Yeah. So anyway, we get down to the lobby, and Grace is waiting for us. And they had stanchions, so they had it roped off so that the families are going this way. And the graduates, like the families are funneled to go out the door.
Yep.
And the graduates are in the lobby. Now, the lobby was not crowded. I mean, it was, it's a big lobby, and there were, students were there. Well, there are the officials from Mass Mutual saying, go, keep going, keep going. So everybody's like, well, you want to take some pictures. You want to congratulate your graduate. They're all dressed up in their caps and gowns. We're coming out, and I had Charlie, and we hadn't put her coat on yet because we weren't outside yet. And plus, I thought it was, as we're coming out, before we see any windows, I'm thinking it's sunny and probably getting pretty hot by now. So we see Grace. She takes Charlie across the stanchion. Gary manages to snap 3 pictures. There's a guy saying, no, everybody out, meaning out in the street. Now, it's pouring rain. They're funneling people out. They're not letting the families, interact at all with their students, with their graduates. So we're out in the pouring rain. And at the Mass Mutual Center, there is an overhang that's about the size of this table. And there are literally, hundreds of family members in there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really, that whole thing was so upsetting to me because we, now it's like a herd crowd. You're getting shoved out of the building. And we got separated because we had a stanchion between us. So now Grace has the baby with no jacket. It's pouring rain. We got separated. I've got the baby's jacket. Allie has the diaper bag. Gary, I can't find. He was going to go and pull the car around. So, it was insane. So we get out there. Grace is huddled. I finally found her, huddled against the building, even though there's no overhang there. One of her college professors, Dr. Hatch, came and took my sweater that I had given to Grace for the ceremony and was kind of like holding it over Charlie. Of course, Charlie's crying. Everybody's, and I'm thinking, seriously? Why did we have to come out in the pouring rain? Why couldn't we take a few pictures in the lobby? I've been to graduations. I've had my own my Springfield College graduation was there. After the ceremony, well, when I graduated, it was the Civic Center. It was way before it was Mass Mutual.
I bet you they only paid for a certain amount of time and everyone wanted to go home.
Well, that is what my neighbor said. That's exactly what the first question we all had was somebody said, well, was there another event coming in? And I said, no, I had checked the Mass Mutual website beforehand because I wanted to know were there other events, and I mostly wanted to know because of the parking, how competitive was the parking going to be. But I was like, no. There was one other event at 10 o'clock in the morning at the same time, which was like a dog show or something going on,
Or one of the functions.
Yeah, one of the functions.
exhibit
So
halls.
whether they were still there or not, I don't know. But another one of my neighbors said, no, it was probably that, the staff was like, all right, we're out of here at 1 o'clock. Everybody get the heck out of the building. I am sending a scathing letter. I was so upset because you know what? 60% of those graduates were first generation college students. And they had families that came in from out of state. And that was just, that was a travesty. It took a
You got to have a little
beautiful
discretion. I mean, the management
Yes.
should go,
Yeah.
hey, guys, we'll pay you for an extra hour or something.
Yeah, exactly. Really, all they needed, Pete, was probably a half hour. And
you don't need
people
the
could
full staff for
people
that.
could exactly. People could have snapped a few pictures. Not one person was out of hand during this entire ceremony. So I mean, there was nobody that you had to keep an eye on, or that guy's a little. I was livid.
I would have just said no. I would have just said, okay, no.
Well,
we're
you
not
know what?
going outside.
There
no.
was a graduate who was, and I mean, it wasn't like they were just targeting us, but it just
No,
happened to
they're
be
moving
that
the
the guy was standing right next to Gary or right next to Grace when Gary was taking the picture. He's like, no, outside. I'm like, we're gonna take pictures out in the pouring rain, and I got a baby here with no jacket, and it was just. That part of it, I was ticked off, and they're going to hear from me. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right. It is 6:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. So in honor of graduation for all of our graduates, particularly my special graduate, Grace Gorman, who is now a vet tech. And so the next hurdle is her national certification exam. We'll deal with that. That's in July, so we'll deal with that. But she's got the degree. But this song was actually sung at her graduation. They had one of the students sing this. It was beautiful. It's called "This Is Me." It's by Kiala Settle. So we'll be right back.
Stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets hits my skin. I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown a mind. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:27. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So June is Cataract Awareness Month. More than half of all of Americans age 80 or older either have cataracts or have had surgery to remove cataracts. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cataract is the leading cause of vision loss in the United States and the leading cause of blindness worldwide. A cataract is a clouding of the eye's lens which blocks or changes the passage of light into the eye. The lens of the eye is located behind the pupil, and the colored iris and is normally transparent. The lens helps to focus images onto the retina, which transmits the images to the brain. There are several possible risk factors for cataracts, the number one being age. I had an optometrist tell me one time that if people live long enough, everyone will develop cataracts to
That's
some
what mine
degree.
told me, yeah.
To some degree.
Some get them earlier. Like I already have the starting of small ones in my eyes.
Yeah, it's very normal. And for some people, a lot of people have cataract surgery, but for some people, having cataracts are almost like looking through a piece of wax paper.
Yep.
But for some, it doesn't interfere with their activities. Most ophthalmologists will say it's time to do surgery when it's interrupting your daily activities. You can no longer read the paper. You can no longer do some of what you need to do. So age is certainly number one for risk factor. Intense heat or long-term exposure to UV rays from the sun. Certain diseases, such as diabetes, put people at higher risk. Inflammation in the eye, hereditary influences, events that happen before birth, such as if the mother had German measles, that also puts people at greater risk. Long-term steroid use, eye injuries, eye diseases, and smoking. You throw smoking and diabetes, they're pretty much risk factors for just about everything. So for some adults or children with cataract, surgery may be recommended by an eye doctor. Cataract surgery is one of the most common operations in the United States. 9 out of 10 people who undergo cataract surgery can see better afterwards, with most people being completely healed within about an 8-week period. And it's so funny because cataract surgery has come such a long way in the many years that I've been in the field of working with older adults. It's just so funny because when I first started,
And now it's nearly routine.
Oh my gosh. And it's like people are up and about, literally like hours. Oh, it's the same with hip surgery, like hours later, whereas I can remember in my first job, so, this was like back in the 80s, 70s, late 70s, early 80s, people would be in the hospital for a couple of days, and then they would have all these restrictions for a week, and they'd literally have to have somebody like move in with them. And, it's so different now. So We've come a long way. We have really come a long way. All right. It's 6:30. So let's take our next break. It's 6:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And in honor of Cataract Awareness Month, we're going to listen to Johnny Nash singing I Can See Clearly Now. He obviously had the surgery.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. Gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, what I didn't mention was that at the same time that I was at this graduation, I also was coordinating the Parish Covered Golf Tournament, their annual golf tournament.
I do remember you saying that last time.
Oh, yeah. So Saturday was a day, Pete. That's all I can tell you. Saturday was a day. By the time Saturday was over, I was done. Like, I was so exhausted. Oh, well, it first started because it was also newsletter day. So the newsletters came out on Saturday. So before I did anything, so this is how my day went. Woke up and I was at the senior center at 5:30 in the morning to
you do know
get
you're supposed to have less stress, right?
Yeah, I know. This is not happening.
Okay.
So get the newsletters out of the bin, sort them all out, put the ones back in the bin because because it was the last day of the month. So I knew there were going to be people, there by 9 o'clock in the morning, opening up that bin, looking for their newsletter. So that was done. Go back home. Now I got to do Grace's hair. She wanted me to, use hot rollers on her. So I'm getting her ready, the baby ready, me ready, so then we do all the graduation stuff. In the meantime, the day before I was working on all the parish cupboard stuff. So I have a huge shout out to Barbara Martone and Kathy Millis, who covered for me at the tournament until I got there. They helped with registration. They were out there doing the 50-50 hole raffle at one of the holes in the rain. I mean, obviously we had tents and everything. Although they said registration, because registration started earlier.
Was in the weather window.
Was in the weather window. Because when I got there and I said, oh my gosh, when did it start raining? I was in Mass Mutual Center for 3 hours. I said, I had no idea what was going on out there. They said, well, it was a shotgun start that started at noon and the heavens opened up at 20 after 12. So, but Barbara and Kathy were there. They stuck it out the whole day. So then I got there after graduation, changed my clothes, running around getting the whole raffle set up, but they had already done a lot of the legwork. So that was great. Did all of that. It was, and kudos to all these golfers. I was shocked at how many of them played the whole 18 holes. It was all for charity. It was all a fundraiser. They were good sports. As Barbara Martone said, these guys they're golfers. They know what to do. They had all brought a change of clothes so that when the dinner came, because I'm thinking to myself, wow, these guys look fresh as a daisy. Well, they'd all gone downstairs and, in the locker room, they all changed, put on dry stuff, came up for the dinner and the raffle. And the parish cupboard did better than they've ever done. We raised more money than we've ever raised. Nice. So thank you to everyone that supported that. Yep. And then on my way home, I had to do a little grocery shopping. So it was like a really long day. It was really crazy. So that was my Saturday. And Sunday, I was back at the senior center with Barbara Martone because when I brought the newsletters in Saturday morning, I literally threw them all on a table. And I said, all right, we'll sort and count and get them distributed tomorrow because we're not doing it today, obviously. So thank you, Barbara. I don't know she's like my personal assistant. I don't know what I would do without her. And Kathy Millis, always there, always willing to help. Appreciate that. All right, this week, June 1st to June 7th is National Gardening Week. So let's talk about that. Green thumbs, get your spades ready. National Gardening Week during the first full week of June is for you. From the amateur to the master gardener, celebrations, workshops, and educational events swing into high gear during National Gardening Week. Gardens provide fresh fruits and vegetables, beautify neighborhoods and communities, and provide social and physical activities throughout the year. As many gardeners know, the benefits of gardening come from more than the produce. Spending time in the garden also provides physical activity and an opportunity to join with nature. Gardening on its own is therapeutic and can be good for your mental health. The fresh air and sunshine both allow you to get vitamin D naturally. Vitamin D is essential for absorbing and retaining adequate amounts of calcium and phosphorus, which are good for your bones. In addition, fresh air is rich in oxygen and a great way to circulate the oxygen in your blood. Fresh air will clean your lungs, strengthen your immune system, aid in digestion, and increase your energy. Spending time outdoors helps you sleep better and usually makes you feel happy. Gardening in America can be traced back as far as the year 1565, when Spaniards settled in St. Augustine, Florida, and brought plants from Spain and novelties from the West Indies. Years later, in 1607, English colonists settled in Virginia and named their colony Jamestown. They brought seeds from England, but also cultivated crops grown by Native Americans, such as tobacco, corn, beans, and squash. Between 1619 and 1865, during the slave trade, the gardens created by African American slaves in the United States were significant in the history of gardening. In this period, African Americans found time to cultivate their garden plots despite having to attend to the crops of slave owners. Their gardens provided additional food to the enslaved community and sometimes actually yielded enough produce to sell for a profit. One major feat in gardening history came when John Bartram of Philadelphia established his botanic garden in 1728. It is known to be the oldest surviving of its kind in North America. So happy National Gardening Week. And now here's a shout out to my husband, Gary, he does all the work out in our yard. And he has done, somebody asked us one time if our yard was professionally landscaped. And I said, no, but what a compliment to Gary. He really is careful about choosing his flowers and, what flowers get planted where because of how much sun. We have, the front yard is pretty much in the sun all day long. So in the summer and not all flowers do well in the sun all day long. Some of them need some shade. And so he's really mastered all of that. So he's been working for the last couple of weeks, but he loves it. And, the thing about gardening, and I've said it all along, is, it makes a difference. When you go out there and you spend 2 hours planting and doing this, that, and the other thing, everybody notices. It's like, oh my gosh, it looks so nice. So it's one of those really rewarding sort of, tasks that people do. So awesome. What else was I going to say? Pete, what did you do this weekend? Oh, you did.
I was at commencement this weekend, pretty much. Mount Holyoke was a late commencement.
I thought theirs was the week
it was
before.
week before.
It was the week before. Okay, I was going to say,
this is
wait a minute.
reunion 2 weekend.
What
they
is
have a
that?
second reunion. They get 3 or 4 classes together during commencement weekend.
Okay.
And then another
gotcha.
3 or 4 or 5 together
okay.
on the second. They do 2 of them.
Yeah. Springfield College used to do the same thing. They would have different weekends then. Okay.
Right.
All right. I got it. And Pete, you know what? As I was looking here during the break, now I see what you're talking about with these big things right here, these 3, and they have a big bubble on them.
The weather houses.
That's the weather houses. Because I was trying to figure out, I was like, well, where are those? But now I see them. They're right there.
Yeah.
They're
they're massive.
They are. They're huge.
Yeah.
But they have to be because they have to, they have to encapsulate the cameras.
But they're also made to have a heater in them.
Oh.
To put the power supply in them.
Oh, wow.
So they have a lot of other space to put other things.
Yeah, they are. They're big. Are they heavy? I mean, they look.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
Are they pretty heavy? Yeah.
That's why I bought those beefy tripod thingies.
Exactly. I was going to say you definitely couldn't stick those on like a little aluminum tripod. Well,
right.
Very cool. All right. Very good. All right. Well, let's take our break early. If you're just joining me, Carol Palmer. It's the first Wednesday of the month, so Carol Palmer joins us on the first.
Look out!
Wednesday
Here she comes.
She's coming. So she will be here a second hour. It is where am I? June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, so we're going to talk about that with Carol. We're going to talk about some really cool brain exercises. She's our exercise guru, so we're going to talk about that. So that'll be really interesting second hour. But we have lots of other stuff to cover before that. So in honor of National Gardening Week, I wanted to get a great song either about gardens or plants or whatever. And then I saw somebody had, done a list of, all these great gardening things. And I chose this one, which has no words to it. But
Booker T and the MGs,
it's Booker
man.
T and the MGs. And I love Booker T and the MGs.
Yep.
It's called Green Onions. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. Let's play Booker T and the MGs because it's just such a good moving around song. So you are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So here's
WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every 4th Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So today, June 4th, on this day in 1919, Congress passes the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, granting women the right to vote, was passed by Congress and sent to the states for ratification on this date in 1919. Now, I'm all about this. So, we were not going to get through this day without me talking about this. So the women's suffrage movement was founded in the mid-19th century by women who had become politically active through their work in the abolitionist and temperance movements. In July 1848, 240 women suffragists, including Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, met in Seneca Falls, New York, to assert the right of women to vote. Female enfranchisement was still largely opposed by most Americans, and the distraction of the North-South conflict and subsequent Civil War precluded further discussion. So it's kind of like, let's put that on the back burner. During the Reconstruction era, the 15th Amendment was adopted, granting African American men the right to vote, but the Republican-dominated Congress failed to expand its progressive radicalism to the sphere of gender. In 1869, the National Woman Suffrage Association, led by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, was formed to push for an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Another organization, the American Woman Suffrage Association, led by Lucy Stone, was organized in the same year to work through the state legislatures. In 1890, these two societies were united as the National American Woman Suffrage Association. That year, so that was 1890, Wyoming became the first state to grant women the right to vote. By the beginning of the 20th century, the role of women in American society was changing drastically. Women were working more, receiving a better education, bearing fewer children, and several states had authorized female suffrage. In 1913, the National Woman's Party organized the voting power of these enfranchised women to elect congressional representatives who supported women's suffrage. And by 1916, both the Democratic and Republican parties openly endorsed female enfranchisement. In 1919, the 19th Amendment, which stated that the rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex, passed both houses of Congress and was sent to the states for ratification. 8 days later, the 19th Amendment took effect. Despite the passage of the amendment and the decades-long contributions of black women to achieve suffrage, poll taxes, local laws, and other restrictions continued to block women of color from voting. It would take another 50 years for all women to achieve voting equality. So that was a very long time. But anyway, thank you to all those great women. When Grace was younger, we had a card game, and it was famous great women or something. And so all of those names, Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, of course, Susan B. Anthony, they all had their own card. They're all, in this deck of cards. It was pretty cool. But I learned a lot because on the back of each of the cards was a little history of what each of these women had done. Of course, a lot of them were part of the suffrage movement. So, all right, it is time to do some announcements because we have like a ton of things going on at the Senior Center. It is now June. The month is packed. Like right out of the gate, the month is packed. So let's start with this morning, okay? We are having our All-American Father's Day Luncheon on Wednesday, June 25th. The entertainment will begin at 11 o'clock, and the entertainers are Ethel Lee and Richie Mitnick, real crowd favorites. Tickets are $5, and the tickets go on sale this morning at 9 o'clock. Carol Shannon and I will be selling tickets at the Senior Center in the Great Room this morning at 9 o'clock. You have a limit of 2 tickets per person, and each of those people must be a My Senior Center member. At the end of today, if we have any tickets left, which we may or may not, Any additional tickets for non-members will go on sale tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to the public. So if you want to be guaranteed a ticket for the Father's Day, and you do not have to be a father, you only have to know a father or have had a father. And everybody had one, whether he was involved or not. We all had them.
There's only one person I know in the Bible that didn't have a father.
There you go. There you go. That is absolutely true. So come on down, help us celebrate. It's going to be a great time. So again, those tickets go on sale today. This Friday, so the day after tomorrow, we are having what I have now dubbed our information station. So periodically on Friday mornings during our Friday morning breakfast, which has become wildly popular, we are holding what we call an information station, where we'll have a table in the back of the great room with someone from the outside who has information to share with the seniors, kind of one-on-one. So it'll be handouts, flyers. In this case, the topic is stroke, which dovetails our Westfield Council on Aging Presents series.
Yes.
And it will be either one or two. I know Chrissy Humison is going to be there, and she was interviewed by Harry Rock. I'm not sure if Tammy Westcott will be there as well. My guess is yes, and Tammy was also interviewed. So they are doing this month's Westfield Council on Aging Presents. They're working under a special grant. It's all about stroke education, but I know that they also have some freebies to be giving away as part of, the grant. So they will be at the information station on Friday morning between 8:30 and 9:30. That will be set up in the back of the great room. They'll be there. They'll answer questions. They'll do one-on-one, information with you. They'll have handouts and brochures. And as I said, they'll have some freebies. I'm hoping, and I'm trying to get a special short guest appearance by the new president of Bay State Noble Hospital, Brandon O'Keezy. He has emailed me. He thanked me for the invitation. He said he's going to do his very best to stop by. Because I said, hey, this is your gig. These are your employees over, for Bay State Noble Hospital. So Brandon is newly relocated here, and I met him at his reception that they had for him over at the hospital a couple of weeks ago. So he's going to try to make it over so that everybody can put a face with a name. We're used to seeing Ron Bryant, so this is a different face. And if he has time, we'll give him a little tour of the senior center. So that's happening this Friday. A week from tomorrow, June 12th, we have our annual Elder Law Education Project. Thank you to the Massachusetts Bar Association because they coordinate this, and it's free education every year. We each senior center who wants to do this, and we always apply for it, is assigned an attorney. We are thrilled that our attorney this year is coming back. He was here 2 years ago. His name is Attorney Hyman Darling. He's fabulous. He's super knowledgeable. I consider him to be the guru of attorneys in elder estate law. So he will be at the Senior Center on Thursday, June 12th at 6 p.m. So we have opened this up for those older adults who are working. It's open to family members of older adults. The topics that I asked Hyman to really focus on are durable power of attorney, healthcare proxy, end-of-life documents, the MOLST form, which is now turning into the POLST form. And when Dr. Lovelace was on a couple of months ago, he touched on some of these documents that are super helpful to your physicians and a conversation that you need to have with your primary care physician. So there will be time for questions and answers. Attorney Darling is fabulous about answering people's questions. And when he was at the senior center a couple of years ago, he was in the parking lot on his way out, still talking to people, answering their questions and so forth. So he is so dedicated to, just to elder law. We are asking you to register in advance just so I kind of know how many chairs I'm setting up here. So that is a week from tomorrow, June 12th at 6 p.m. Back by popular demand, because we had a waiting list for this back in April, we're doing our Go With The Flow watercolor painting session. This is really sort of a therapeutic painting session. It's less of an art, it's not like an art class, but it's really more if people are feeling overwhelmed or if they're feeling stressed or sort of burdened with responsibilities. We had a couple people, because there's a very limited number that Donna Carmel is the facilitator, and there's a limited number that she can take. We had some people that had to get put on a wait list. So she's working under a grant by the Westfield Cultural Council, which is supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. And she said she had still had some money left in the grant, so she's going to come back and do a second session, and that will be Monday, June 16th. From 9:30 to 11:30, and again, we are asking people to sign up for that in advance. You have to register for that in advance. And then we have a first time happening at the Senior Center. So this was Mike Squindo kind of arranged for this, and I've been working with Kelly Lamas over at Bay State. We are having Bay State Health Wellness on Wheels bus. So we're going to have this big bus in our parking lot. You won't be able to miss it because it says Wellness on Wheels on it. That will be happening on Tuesday, June 17th from 8:30 to 10:30. So they will do prevention screenings for high blood pressure and diabetes. They can discuss healthy eating and active living education and resources. They'll have at-home COVID-19 test kits available. They do have some at-home blood pressure cuffs for eligible individuals, and I don't know what the eligibility is, so they'll explain that if you come over there. And then resources and answers to your health questions. So our Senior Center participants are welcome to stop by. There's no pre-registration that's necessary. They'll be out in the parking lot, so if you don't want to come into the building, you don't even have to come into the building. That's what this is all about. It's a portable Wellness on Wheels bus. And we'll see how that goes. So again, that's Tuesday, June 17th from 8:30 to 10:30. And that week is also Pride Week in Westfield. So the Westfield Pride Inc. has really, instead of, kind of spreading all their events out over the whole month, they're really concentrating on 1 week. And there will be several events held at the Senior Center. One of them being on that same evening, Tuesday, June 17th, we're doing family bingo. It will be, each bingo card is going to be $1. You have a limit of 4 cards per player. We'll have a 50-50 drawing. There are no advance signups for this. It is hosted by Westfield Pride. And I think it's going to be a blast. I think it's going to really be a lot of fun. We'll have some great prizes. We'll have some money prizes as well. But you can bring the kids. You can bring the grandkids. It's open to the public. And it's in the evening, so that'll be a fun 6 to 7:30. It'll still be light out for those of you who don't like to drive in the dark. We'll have you out of there in plenty of time. All right, and there's lots more. I haven't even that's like half of it. But those are all the things that are happening sort of at the beginning of the month, and I really wanted to make sure that, if you needed to sign up for anything in advance, that you knew about those. Most important thing for today, Father's Day luncheon tickets go on sale at 9 o'clock. All right, you are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. It's 7:01. We'll take our top of the hour break.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Take out T-C-T. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, Zillary, say. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me. Woo! Yeah, little bit, Zillary, say. Just a little bit. I get tired. Little bit, keep on trying. Just a little bit. You're running out of food. Little bit, I ain't lying. Just a little bit. Please, we are
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and my guest this morning, because it's the first Wednesday of the month, is Carol Palmer, group exercise instructor at the Westfield Senior Center. Welcome, Carol. I know it's so hard to believe it's like the beginning of June already.
I know, but I love it.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Like I woke up on the way over. I'm driving over here, and it's 5:30 in the morning, and it's already light out.
It's already light.
It's
Yep.
so great.
Beautiful day.
I love the light.
Yeah.
I just love the light. So we've just been talking about the fact that there are so many things going on at the Senior Center in June. And then, there are just things that are starting to happen all over the city as well because, summer's almost here. The students only have a couple more weeks of school, and then it's going to be real quiet in this building for the summer.
Oh, I thought you meant in the town. I'm like, no, it's not going to be quiet
not
in the town.
No, in this building, in this studio, it's
Yeah,
going to be quiet. We will not have anything. So I was giving like a little preview of all the stuff going on in June at the Senior Center, and I just want to finish with a couple of things because I do want people to mark their calendar for a few things. So I mentioned that we're kind of celebrating Pride Week for the city, kind of in that one concentrated week. So Friday, June 20th at the Senior Center, we're hosting a film and discussion called Rustin. It's about Baynard Rustin, who was a really interesting man who was very involved in the civil rights movement, but also happened to be gay and at a time when you didn't really talk about that very much. So he didn't get a lot of credit for a lot of the work that he had done, and he worked closely with Martin Luther King. So anyway, we're going to show that film on Friday, June 20th at 9 in the morning. So we're going to have the viewing of the film and then a discussion afterward. We did this last year, and a lot of the folks from our book group, our Novel Ideas book group, participated, and I kind of felt like I had to throw them out finally because it was like, I think they would have gone on forever because, you show a movie and everybody's got an opinion. And
you got it.
It was great. So that should be really excellent. And then we also have a woman who's coming. We haven't tried this before. We're calling it Painting Pleasure for the Non-Artist. Her name is Nina. I won't even attempt the last name. There are a whole lot of consonants in here and not a whole lot of vowels. But anyway, she's from Create and Paint Fun. So there's no charge because she's doing this under a grant. Oh, we're doing it under a grant, the Sarah Gillette grant.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we had some extra grant money left in our art program. So it's Painting Pleasure for the Non-Artist. It's Friday, June 20th. So it's the same as the film, but it's in the afternoon from 1 to 3. There's no charge, but space is limited, so you do have to pre-register for that. And by the way, all the flyers for all of these announcements that I'm making are in the lobby, are in the front window of the lobby of the Senior Center. But one of the ones that I'm the most excited about is this is how we're wrapping up Pride Week at the Senior Center with a free concert. It's Doo-Wop meets Motown. Now, we've had Doo-Wop meets Motown. We had Leslie Anderson and Irv Lewis perform at the Senior Center twice. I mean, people just raved. However, I had to change the flyer because Irv came by the other day to tell me that Leslie had some emergency health issues going on.
Oh,
he's recovering nicely, but he's not going to be ready to perform in 3 weeks. However, Irv and Leslie and 2 other men, and I think one is from the Platters and one is from the Flamingos.
Wow.
Because all these guys are older now, right?
Yeah.
They formed a group of 4. So Irv said, minus Leslie, the other 3 of them will do the doo-wop part, and then Irv always does the Motown part.
Oh, that
so
sounds
fear
good.
not. And the name of their group is Back in Time. So I had to take Leslie's name out and put the performers are going to be Back in Time and Irv Lewis. It's going to be fabulous. Irv is such a great entertainer anyway, and he's telling me about this, and I'm thinking these guys are going to be fabulous. It's going to be a fun concert. It's free. Sunday afternoon, June 22nd at 2 p.m. for 1 hour. So for all of you seniors who always tell me you hate the weekends because they go on forever and you don't have anything to do and it's really long, and I get that. I get that. This is going to be a lot of fun. So put that on your calendar, and then we'll wrap up the month with our Diabetes Dialogue Support and Education Group, facilitated by Jen Jafune. And this month's topic is going to be plant-based eating. So we'll be talking about that. So that's all the stuff going on at the Senior Center. And now like Stanley Park starts their thing, their concert series.
Yeah, the first one was Sunday.
It was Sunday.
It was this
they already
past
did
Sunday.
it. Okay. Yeah, my seniors are, they inform me about all these things. Well, honestly, I didn't think the concert series was starting quite this soon. So I will start doing the Stanley Park announcements next week, because I always announce whoever's playing at the concert and whoever is doing, once they start the the Friday morning children's.
Morning. I think
that's in July. Usually that's in July. It's not till the kids get out of school. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, you missed it on Sunday. I'm telling you. I'm, of course, much older than you. So the Floyd Patterson Band was playing all the 60s.
Yeah.
And I was up there, and I said, Michelle was standing next to me, and I said, is it bad that I know all the lyrics?
All the lyrics of all this. I'm the exact same way. I know all the lyrics. Well, listen, what's even worse is I listen to Bruce Marshall's station, WARE, for the oldies. And Sunday night they have Remember Then. And Misty Monroe hosts Remember Then. And she does songs, she does a lot of show tunes. She'll do a lot of 40s, 50s, 60s. I know the lyrics to all of them because I grew up with music. My family, not that they didn't play, but my dad had a record collection, an album collection, and we attended theater, we attended shows and everything. And so it's the same thing. And my family, Gary and Grace are going, what is this song? I said, oh, that's from this show, or oh, that was so-and-so sang this. And but we used to sing in the car a lot. My grandparents lived an hour away from us. And I can remember as a kid, often, there were 4 kids in my family, my dad would shut off the radio and we would all sing. So I knew the lyrics to all of these, the old time songs. And
yeah, I used to do that too, but everybody kept telling me to shut up.
No, my family, we would all just sing together, and it was just great.
I'm not a singer.
Well, I'm not either, but you know what? I went to a church one time, and the priest had a lovely voice, and he used to. It was a very tiny church when Gary was going to chiropractic school. There were no Catholics out there, so you'd have 15 people, and Father John would be like, "Okay, we're all going to sing." And I remember one time somebody said, "I'm really self-conscious. I'm not a very good singer, and there are only 10 of us in this service." And he said, "So what? You're in church. This is the voice that God gave you. Give it back to him. And however bad it is, that's the way it is." And
that is a good quote.
I thought that was a great philosophy.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, give it back to him. Whatever he gave you, this is his house. Just give it back. But anyway, okay, let's talk about, we'll get to our topic at hand, but we have other things that we have to cover first.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, June is Aphasia Awareness Month. So let's talk about that. This is a time dedicated to bringing awareness, education, support, and understanding about the communication disorder aphasia. Imagine waking up from a stroke to realize that you have survived only to discover part of you is still missing, your voice. Aphasia is a communication disorder that can affect a person's ability to speak, understand, write, or read, or any of those combinations. So it's a little bit confusing because some people feel like aphasia means you can't speak. Not necessarily. Often that's what it means. Sometimes it means that you can you can't write. You can speak, but you can't. You physically can write, but the words, the brain, the words that are in your brain don't connect. Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes it's a matter of you can't read. Again, you can understand if somebody's reading something to you. So it can be kind of complicated. It is most commonly acquired as a result of a stroke, but it can also be caused by illness or infection. Aphasia is very isolating for the person with aphasia as well as for their family and friends. It is frustrating. It's so frustrating. Aphasia has an awareness problem. According to data from the National Aphasia Association, 2 million people across the United States have aphasia, but 84.5% of Americans have never heard the term before. They don't know what it is. It's more common than cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, ALS, Parkinson's disease, and muscular dystrophy combined. And while most people have probably heard of those other conditions, they're unfamiliar with aphasia. It's important to build awareness because, as we know, that is the first and most crucial step in finding public and political support. Aphasia does not discriminate. People of all ages, races, nationalities, and genders can become aphasic. 85% of aphasia is the result of stroke. Other causes include traumatic brain injury, brain tumors, degenerative disease, and metabolic changes. The fact that aphasia is a communication disorder, i.e., it can take away a person's literal and figurative voice, and it is fairly invisible, like if somebody was walking down the street, you wouldn't necessarily know, means it is less commonly known and understood among the general population. Yet chances are, if you know someone who's had a stroke, that person may have struggled with communication immediately, or they may still be struggling with it. Aphasia can vary in type and severity. Some people recover fully. Most make some progress, especially if they're getting some speech therapy, but some will never be able to communicate in the same way again. Aphasia can improve with access to proper therapy and treatment, the most effective of which is intensive, comprehensive speech-language therapy. People with aphasia who receive around 8 to 10 hours of treatment per week show more progress than those who do not. So, some interesting stories about aphasia. When my very first job, which was back in like 1979, was in a skilled nursing facility. Back then we called them nursing homes. Mm-hmm. And I worked with, I had one gentleman who was aphasic and had absolutely no speech at all. Absolutely knew what he wanted. He could point. That was so long ago. They were just starting to use communication boards, where they would have pictures and people could point to things. Yep. When I got to my second job, which was out in Iowa when Gary was in chiropractic school, I was working with a woman who was aphasic, and the only word she could say was no. Oh. That was the only word that came out. Her name was Lucy. And she would say it, and I always felt so badly for her because she was a bubbly kind of a person. You could tell she was probably the life of the party before her stroke. And so if she wanted to say yes, she would say no, but she would nod yes. You say, Lucy, do you want breakfast now? No, because no was the only thing that came out. So, or she would, no was no. But again, it was just, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. It's frustrating for them because they know they know what's in here and they can't get it out. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating for you because you're what's like me trying to communicate with Charlie, my granddaughter. Yeah. She doesn't talk yet. And so you can tell in her head she knows what she wants. And it's becoming more frustrated as her thoughts become more complicated and she still can't get her message across. So I know how, and it's so trying for the families too, because you want to, please the person. You want to get the person what they want or what they need or, get the message. And it can be really challenging.
Could Lucy write a message or?
Her writing was very difficult for her to write it out. And I think there was still a disconnect between the writing. So it was pretty much all up here. Yeah. But there was nothing wrong with the thought process. Some people can write, so that's one way to do it. But other people can't. They can speak, but when they go to read, everything looks like it's backwards. I mean, again, there's so many nuances to this that it can be really challenging. So I think, again, just an awareness. Right. And most people really aren't aware until someone in the family or they, have a stroke that's severe enough to.
I had no idea it was so common.
Yeah.
That there were that many people with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a puzzle. All right. And we have one famous birthday today. I couldn't let this one go by either because I thought it wasn't not just that the topic, but also because it was an interesting story. So June 4th is the birthday of the late Ruth Westheimer. Do you remember Dr. Ruth?
I do remember
Dr. Ruth, therapist, author, broadcaster, born on this day in 1928 in Frankfurt, Germany. She just died last year at the age of 96.
I remember that.
But she was really an interesting character, so I just want to spend a few minutes on this one. So Ruth Westheimer was an American psychosexual therapist famed for transforming attitudes toward the open discussion of sex. She began quietly in 1980 with a 15-minute recorded program called Sexually Speaking that aired after midnight on a New York radio channel. A year later, it had become an hour-long live phone-in show. Following emphatic success, she went on to write more than 35 books, including Dr. Ruth's Encyclopedia of Sex and Sex for Dummies. Those were in the mid-'90s. She also, and I remember when Sex for Dummies came out,
do too.
right?
Yep.
She also syndicated her column in newspapers worldwide and developed games, videos, software, and her own website. Her boundless enthusiasm, her frankness, her German accent, and her height, she was 4'7" made her instantly recognizable and endlessly parodied, but never forgotten. But her background is interesting. She was born in Frankfurt, Germany, to Orthodox Jewish parents. She was 10 when her father was taken by the Nazis, and in 1939, her mother and grandmother sent Ruth for safety to a children's home in Switzerland. Ruth never saw her parents again and believed that they perished in Auschwitz. At the age of 17, she immigrated to what was then Palestine and joined the Jewish underground to fight for Israeli independence. She was a trained sniper. Can you believe? Yes.
Really?
She was a trained sniper and a scout, but in 1948, 3 weeks after Israel declared independence, and on her birthday, she was seriously wounded by an exploding shell. After a long convalescence in 1950, she moved to Paris and then to the United States. In the late 1960s, Ruth Westheimer joined the Planned Parenthood organization in Harlem, New York, and in spite of her initial shock at the frank conversation she encountered, that soon became her vocation. She became project director in 1967. She earned a doctorate in 1970, taking evening classes. Her work with Planned Parenthood prompted her to study with the pioneer sex therapist Helen Singer Kaplan. In the early 1970s, Dr. Ruth, she became an associate professor of sex counseling at Lehman College in the Bronx. Her life and career took a dramatic turn when she gave a lecture to New York broadcasters about the need for sex education programming. Betty Elam of the New York radio station WYNY-FM offered Westheimer $25 a week to make Sexually Speaking. That was the name of the show. After a couple of weeks, it was noticed that, this is what the part I love, after a couple of weeks, it was noticed that work stopped in the building as studio and office workers gathered to listen to this cross between Henry Kissinger and Minnie Mouse, as the Wall Street Journal later described her. But, you can see this because she's doing this like after midnight for 15 minutes. And I can just see all of the, the housekeeping people, their office people, the office cleaning, stopping to listen in. Her midnight show on a small, struggling station was getting better ratings than peak period programs on major channels. Westheimer appeared on Late Night with David Letterman in 1982 and was soon a household name across the United States. Her cable TV show was soon rolled out across the U.S. as the Dr. Ruth Show. Her radio program, Ask Dr. Ruth, was syndicated nationally and internationally. She spoke English, French, German, and Hebrew. She subsequently starred in the all-new Dr. Ruth Show and You're on the Air with Dr. Ruth. That one I remember, You're on the Air with Dr. Ruth. And because she would just take calls and reach teenagers and young people with What's Up, Dr. Ruth in 1989, as well as senior citizens with Never Too Late in 1992. I mean, you had to love her. I don't know of anybody who didn't love her. While she managed to help so many people understand the need for sexual literacy, she never took herself seriously and was happy to parody herself and her messages in advertisements for cars and shampoo. Dr. Ruth received many awards and honorary degrees. In 1990, well, some of these are a hoot too. Wait till you hear this. In 1998, People magazine named her among its most intriguing people of the century. And in 2009, Playboy, in its 55th anniversary edition, ranked her at number 13 in 55 of the most important people in sex in the previous 55 years.
Thank God. I thought you were going to say she was a
centerfold. I know. I did the same thing. I'm like, what? She continued to have a private practice for many years and to offer help and advice through her website. And in 2019 was the subject of a documentary, Ask Dr. Ruth. So happy birthday to the late, the great, the amazing, the one and only. She truly is the one and only.
That's for sure.
Dr. Ruth. So that was that.
Whoever heard of a 4'7" sniper?
I know. Well, you know, it was when I read that I said, "Oh, we'll focus on one birthday today. She's getting all of the accolades."
Amazing.
You guys didn't know that?
No.
You didn't know she was a sniper?
I did not know that.
I'd heard it early on in her career.
Had you heard it?
Yeah, that she had talked about it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said she could pick you off at 1,000 yards.
You know what? The thing that I just loved about her was that she just, like everybody, she was like a magnet. Like she was young
America's
people.
Grandma that told you about sex.
Exactly. Young,
That's
old.
what it was.
I mean, oh my God. And that accent, the whole thing. And oh my God. The cross between Henry Kissinger and Minnie Mouse. I just thought that was the New York Times. I thought that was the greatest quote. All right, it is 7:24. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So, Carol, this one's for you. I had to do one from a show. This is in honor of the passage of the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. So we're going to listen to, this is from the Mary Poppins soundtrack. We're going to listen to Sister Suffragette. We'll be back.
We're clearly soldiers in petticoats, dauntless crusaders for women's votes. Though we adore men individually, we agree that as a group they're rather stupid. Cast off the shackles of yesterday, shoulder to shoulder into the fray. Our daughters will adore us, and they'll sing in grateful chorus. Well done, Sister Suffragette. From Kensington to Billingsgate, one hears the restless cries. From every corner of the land, womankind arise. Political equality and equal rights with men. Take heart, for Mrs. Pankhurst has been clapped in irons again. No more the meek and mild subservience we. We're fighting for our rights militantly. Never you fear. So cast off the shackles of yesterday, and shoulder to shoulder into the fray. Our daughters will adore us, and they'll sing in grateful chorus. Well done, well done, well done, Sister Suffragette.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:27. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with Carol Palmer, group exercise instructor over at the Westfield Senior Center. You know what? It's always a party when Carol's in the room. I can't stop smiling and laughing because it's just so much fun. Before we get to our topic at hand, I do want to mention, I do want to do a couple of shout outs. So yesterday, Carol was here. I was at the Senior Center. Yesterday was our the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center. It was their annual meeting. Yep. And so, it's a time when we, gather the members and it's actually open to the public so anybody can join us. And the Friends group kind of gives an overview. They are they support us in so many different ways with, equipment and supplies for all over the building, for all of the different programs in the building. My job, now that I don't have to give the director's report because I'm not the director anymore, that used to be a big thing, but my job is to give out the certificates of appreciation. So every year, that is the best. So every year we usually select 2 people. Pete Cole's got it 2 years ago, Pete, or last year? Pete. Yeah, Pete got it. I think it was
2 years ago.
Yeah, Pete got it, and Michael Ballway and Jim Johnson Corwin. So it was kind of our media year. So we had 3 of them that year. But anyway, so this year we had the board had selected 2 people. So the awards went to Dan Welsh, who helps coordinate he doesn't help. He coordinates the AARP Tax Assistance Program.
Oh, goodness.
I said in my speech about Dan, and I've been working with him for many years on this, through everything. Through the chaos of tax season, changing tax law, they have to set up the computers and the software and all this other stuff. There are always glitches to that because you're working with the IRS.
Yeah.
You got computer issues, printer issues. Then add in all of that. You have seniors who are completely overwhelmed. It's like, they're afraid. They're getting scam phone calls saying, the IRS is coming up. So you got all of this. I have never, and Dan was laughing when I said, I've never seen Dan get rattled. He is the most steadfast person, and he's got a great, like my dad, a super dry sense of humor, and he's a quiet guy. But he will do anything he can to help any of our seniors with their taxes. If it's out of scope, he will, he'll guide them in the right direction and say, we can't do this because it's out of scope for whatever, but here's what you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
He is just unbelievable. So he got one. So we talked about him first. The second one, I was so happy that this person was able to make it. It was Jimmy Adams. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Adams can never get to anything at the Senior Center because, of course, with the work he does, you never know, what's going to happen. And he is super busy because at this point he's almost like the only show in town. Jimmy has been a support of the seniors, of Westfield seniors, for long before I came on the scene, and I've been here 20 years. With everything, financially, on the city council as liaison, and then when he wasn't on the city council, and I told this story in my speech, he announced one year, I read it in the Westfield News, and that Jimmy had decided, it was around election time, and he had decided he was not going to take out nomination papers. He was going to, sit this one out. I read it in the Westfield News. I put down the paper. I picked up the phone. I called Fershon Adams, and I kind of got him on the phone, and I said, Jim, so you're not running for re-election on the city council? He said, no, I've decided that's, this is good. I said, great. I want you to submit your name to the mayor to be on the COA board. I said, because you'd be perfect. And he said, well, I don't know. I'm not thinking. They talked about maybe a police commissioner. I'm like, no. You don't want to do a police commissioner. We need a new senior center. We need you on the board. So he did. He submitted. And, of course, the mayor appointed him. And then we immediately made him chair. So,
of course you did.
And gave him all kinds of things to do. He was on the building committee when we built the new senior center. He just, and all of the, and I said in my speech too, and I said to Jim, do you remember that? And he said, I do. When he was on our board, we had to decide whether or not we were going to bite the bullet and spend money to pay for a design for the building before we actually had approval from the council to build the building.
Oh, dear.
And we didn't want to spend that money because it's like, well, what if we spend the money and they say no? And Jimmy Adams was the one who said they will never approve a building without a picture. They need to see what you're talking about. If you're going to be asking for, $7 million, they need to see what they're paying.
Of course. Yeah.
So he said, you're going to have to bite the bullet. So we worked with the mayor to make that happen, and we did that. But it was really Jimmy who said from the inner workings, and we wouldn't have known that. He said, I'm telling you, as a counselor, as a former counselor, he said, they're not going to approve that. He also gave just some really wonderful advice to me during budget season on how to approach different things. But anyway, and so at the end of my speech, I said, as I was writing that speech and preparing for the award yesterday, I said, it occurred to me, Jimmy Adams never said no to anything that I've ever asked him for. In 20 years, every single thing that I've asked him for, whether it was money for a special event or, something, or a sponsorship, whether it was advice, guide, whatever it was, can you, get the inside scoop from council on this, that, and the other thing? He said yes to every single thing I ever asked him.
Including hiring me?
Everything, every single thing, including hiring all of these people.
Yeah,
he was
great. He's a great man, and it's a great family.
It is.
Westfield is so very, very lucky. And I'll tell you how old I am. I trained his father in Nautilus at the YMCA.
Wow.
So that goes back a number of years.
So you really go back.
He was a good man too.
Yeah.
It's just a great family.
It is a great family. And his son Josh is, in the business and he's great. So that was number 2. There was a third certificate of appreciation. And every once in a while we pull a fast one. And the third honoree did not know he was going to be honored.
I know
and the
who it is.
reason that he didn't know that was because he was on the Friends. He is on the Friends board, and that P. Coles will be interested in that. We honored Harry Rock. P. He got it.
I saw his
he got the third certificate of appreciation.
Post about it, right?
Well, that's good. I'm glad he did. He was proud of that, and it was for all his work that he's done with P on the Council on Aging Presents series. But I wish I had a camera on Harry because it just so happened that the three of them sat next to each other. Dan, Jimmy, and Harry. They just all ended up at the same table sitting next to each other. Well, when I first started the speech about Harry, I started the speech by saying, sometimes we have a third honoree who is unbeknownst to them, they're going to be honored. So I kind of did a little intro, and then I talked about Pete, and I talked about the pandemic and how, Pete and I kind of collaborated to figure out thinking outside of the box and starting all these programs. So I'm looking at Harry, nothing, until I get to the pre-pandemic Live and Learn Senior Center series, morphed into the Council on Aging Presents, the Channel 15 Council on Aging Presents series. And all of a sudden it was one of these, it was almost like, and it was like, it was so funny. It was so funny that I stopped my speech and I said, the light bulb just went off over here, and he figured it out, and it was great. But congratulations to all three of those, certificate of appreciation recipients and honorees. We couldn't do it without them. Absolutely. Right. All right, let's take a little break, and then we are going to this is a good intro song to get us into our topic of the day. It is June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, so that's what we're going to be talking about. So let's take a little break. I'm so off on my breaks that I don't even know what time I'm doing what anymore.
That's okay. You can do one here and then one at the top of the hour.
Okay, that sounds great. So it is 7:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of our topic, we're going to listen to Aretha Franklin singing Think.
Think.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go way on, way back when. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. Just now. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees, but it don't
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. You know, soon, and Carol Palmer is my guest this morning. Carol is the group exercise instructor over at the Senior Center. You know, we're getting our own radio station. Did you hear that? Did you know that?
Hear that.
Yeah, so now we're going to have to learn new call numbers and all this other stuff. And I know Harry and I both told Pete, it's like, Pete, you're going to have like posters all over because it just rolls off the tongue. I'm so used to, I don't even look. Everything's memorized. So it's like, I got to learn all this. All right, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Your brain is a thinking organ that learns and grows by interacting with the world through perception and action. Mental stimulation improves brain function and it protects against cognitive decline. The human brain is able to continually adapt and rewire itself. It can grow new neurons or brain cells even in old age, which, by the way, is very different than what the thinking used to be many years ago. So yes, we can get ourselves rewired. Severe mental decline is usually caused by disease. It's not an accompaniment of normal aging. Most age-related losses in memory result from inactivity. That's why I have Carol talking about this with me, because she's going to prevent that. And a lack of mental exercise and stimulation. So, expanding your amazing neural network. Throughout your life, your neural networks reorganize themselves in response to new stimuli and new learning experiences. These experiences stimulate brain cells to grow. Brain cells grow by extending branches of intricate nerve fibers called dendrites, which is from the Latin word for tree, because that's what they look like. They look like the branches of a tree. Dendrites are the antenna through which neurons receive communication from each other. A dendrite grows much like a tree, from trunk to limbs to branches to twigs in an array of ever finer complexity. A healthy, well-functioning neuron can be directly linked to tens of thousands of other neurons, creating a totality of more than 100 trillion connections. So a dendrite, like your brain cells I would kind of look at it, where's my hand? This way. Whereas it's here and then this, and then it branches out and gets smaller and smaller. And if you think of like the roots of a plant, it kind of looks like that. Mental exercises for a better brain. The human brain can continue to grow and improve with exercise. It's important to challenge your brain to learn new and novel tasks, especially processes that you've never done before. So trying something new that you've never done before is a way to expand your neural network. Travel can stimulate the brain, going to places that are new, something different. And aerobic exercise can stimulate the brain. So when I was teaching over at Springfield College, I used to teach neurobics because I got really interested in this and really fascinated by it. So neurobics are brain exercises. The term was invented by Lawrence Katz and Manning Rubin to describe exercises that help the brain to stay fit. But I love that term, neurobics. Some specific types of sensory stimuli and activities, especially those that involve, and here's the key, non-routine actions and thoughts, produce more of those chemicals that encourage the growth of new dendrites and neurons in the brain. These are generally non-routine activities. Routines become so automatic that actions are done largely unconsciously. Such automated or unconscious actions require less activity in the brain and they exercise it less. And, you know, an example is exactly what we were just talking about. So when we have the new radio station, which is going to happen sometime this summer, we're going to have new call letters. It won't be WSKB anymore because that's the college one.
Right.
So what I said was it's automatic. It just rolls off the script is you're listening to WSKB. I don't look at it anywhere. There's no cue card that says, you know, it's just like it's automatic. When we change, that's new. I'm going to have to think about that. It's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. What are the new letters? You know, it's going to be WSFD, so Westfield, the best that P could do with what was available.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be 107.5. Right now we're 89.5, and it's been that way for 11 years.
Yeah.
That's an example of, you know, that the old is so routine. This is going to be new, going to make my brain think. Gonna create more.
It's good for you.
It's good for me. So an aerobic exercise should do one or more of the following. It should involve one or more of your senses in a new context. It should involve your full attention, at least briefly, which which is exactly what's going to happen on this show. It's going to be you're listening to. Wait a minute, let me think about that for a second. And it should break your routine in some significant way. So I thought of you right away, Carol, because I thought, oh, Carol could have a blast with this with her class. I did this with my students at Springfield College, and we had such a blast with just trying different things, trying things in a different way to make you think. So here are just a few examples, and we'll come up with some more. So spend time in a new environment. Well, that's why travel works if you're in a new environment. But go to a new park. Go to a store that you've never been in. Obviously, travel seems to slow age-related mental decline because if it's a new travel experience. Smell new odors in the morning. Have new odors like a bottle of mint extract ready to smell first thing in the morning to wake up your brain. Take a shower with your eyes closed. I've tried this. Take a shower with your eyes closed. Your other senses will become more active when you can't see, and a shower engages several senses. But it's really interesting when I try to shower with my eyes closed, like I get really disoriented in the shower. But that's the whole point. You become disoriented. You have to think about, okay, wait a minute, where's the door? Where's the shampoo? You know, where's the soap? Wait, I keep that over there. Where's the shower head? You know, I mean, it's really interesting. Try doing anything. Try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. And anybody who's had an injury or broken arm, you know, if you have to write with your non-dominant hand or you have to brush your teeth or do your hair, it's difficult. And it requires, again, all of those things when you do that requires your complete attention. It's not automatic. You know, normally you're brushing your teeth, you're thinking about your day, you're, you know, whatever. But when you have to do it with your non-dominant hand, it's a whole different ballgame. This one was interesting. Put on different clothes. Well, for a theater person, ever notice how you feel differently when you wear different clothes? You may think differently as well. Give it a try. And, you know, it's interesting because we've both done theater. You've done way more than I have. But, you know, you put on a costume and you are a different person now.
Well, and you have to be.
You have to be. That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. You can't really develop your character, I don't think, until you know what you're going to wear.
I agree.
Because it's a huge, huge part of it. If you're doing a period piece.
Yes.
Like coming up in the fall.
Yes.
We're going to be doing, you know, it's set in the 1800s, so obviously we'll be dressed completely different.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes a big difference. Here's one. This was so. I'll tell you a funny story about that. Find a new route to work or when you run errands. It doesn't have to be a longer route, just a different one. And you may even find a faster route once you break your routine. Well, do you remember, Carol?
Yes.
When they were tearing up Main Street, when they were doing we did the whole Park Square over.
Yes.
We tore Rockies down. We did this, that, and the other thing. Well, it got to the point where every time I needed to get from the old senior center to City Hall, I had to take a different route. Because, you know, if I went, you could, because roads were just blocked. I mean, there were whole, you know, School Street was closed, or this was closed, or this section of Elm Street was closed, or this section of Main Street was. I'm like, and I just remember thinking, that was how I learned my way around Westfield, because I don't live in Westfield. I live in West Springfield. And I used to teach in Springfield, so I was going in the other way. So it took me a little while to learn my way around. I learned every back road, every shortcut, and it was true. Side streets. And it was true that there were a lot of times, even now, that I take a different, I'll take a side street that I learned when I was doing all that detouring.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. And you get so aggravated. Also, Granville Road, when they closed our bridge, and you had to go all the way around the other way to get anywhere. Because I live right in back of Stanley Park, so that bridge there was closed. But guess what we found out? When the fireworks came that year, which were at the park, you could sit on the bridge, which is now closed, in your chair and watch those beautiful fireworks.
See?
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's great. Yeah, I think
no traffic noise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here's another one. Act confidently. In a situation that you're unsure about, choose to act confidently. You'll notice that your mind gets very active once you adopt the assumption that you will know what to do, because you may not know what to do, so you've really got to figure out what to do. And again, it's all about challenging your brain and brain activity. Distinguish coins using only your sense of touch. This brain exercise can be a way to kill time when you're waiting for an appointment. Well, I dated, when I was in college, I dated a guy who was blind. And so I learned all about the money thing, and he would fold he would fold his bills and all this stuff. But the whole change thing, it was fascinating to watch and, to kind of learn about that.
There's a joke there, but I'm not going to.
That's okay. And then this one kind of dovetails that, which is leave the lights off in the house and get around your home by memory and feel. This certainly fully engages your attention, but of course, please be careful. I know I sometimes that happens like kind of by accident, where I realize that I've shut off all the lights and I have to get from the kitchen to the bottom of the stairs, and I'm thinking, I hope there are no toys in the way that I would fall over, and the coffee, the kind of the coffee table-ish thing, and it's like, all right, let's see if I can do this without busting my shin. Have some television fun. This one's not only fun, but it's good for stimulating creativity. So you turn the volume off of the television and invent the dialogue based on what you see the characters doing. Okay? If you do this with a friend, you can each play various roles. Most shows become comedies, which I don't know how they wouldn't become comedies.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like a given. But here's one, and I've done this when I've been in like doctor's appointments and stuff. It's read a new magazine. Mostly I do it because you don't have a lot of choices. So it's like, okay, well, I wouldn't normally choose this one, but all right. So find a magazine you wouldn't normally choose and read it for a while. You don't have to read the whole thing. Read a few articles. It should be a topic that you don't know anything about. Fish and stream or something like that. I know nothing.
Cars.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Popular mechanics.
Yeah.
If you normally read about money-related topics, you might pick up a fishing magazine. As you read, relate what you're reading and learning to what you already know. This is another good creativity booster. It gets you out of your usual thinking patterns. Now, I was having my nails done one time, and I was at a salon, and they have a magazine. I'd never seen it before. I've seen it since. But it's either called Simply or Simplify or something like that. But it's basically on kind of like reorganizing your life and trying to, it's sort of a minimalist approach. Yeah. So I picked it up and I'm thinking, I've never seen this magazine before. So I'm flipping through and I start reading articles and, you can do this to, organize this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, I could rewrite this whole thing and say, well, yeah, you could do that. But also you want to do this, 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 and this. So stimulating the brain. I was like rewriting the article.
I need to read that magazine.
Oh, it really is a good magazine. Shop in new places. Try a new store when you go shopping. It could be a new grocery store. Actually, it could also be, if it's a chain. Like I find, I shop at both the Stop and Shop in Westfield and the Stop and Shop in West Springfield. They're totally laid out differently. One would think they would be the same. They're not. And even what I call the little Big Y and the big Y.
You're right.
They're different because the big Y has more stuff. That's why it's the big Y.
Yeah.
So you have to leave yourself time if you're going to do some of these things. Because sometimes I'll say to Gary or Grace, all right, I'm stopping at the store on my way home, and I'm an hour later. Gary's like, I said, well, I went to the big Y. I don't usually go to that one. This one I know like the back of my hand. That one, I'm circling back and I'm getting like 50,000 steps in because it's like, wait, where's this? Oh, that was 3 aisles ago. How did I miss that?
Try the one in Southwick too.
Oh God,
that is a lovely store.
Is that a really nice one?
I like that one.
I'll have to try that. Okay, so it could be a different kind of a store that you don't usually go in. Follow the simple guidelines above. Full attention. Use senses in a new context. Break your routine. And you can invent your own neurobics routine. So have some fun with these brain exercises. Usually having fun engages your attention. Here's the simplest thing to do, and it's hilarious. This is one of the things I had my students do. I said, I want you all to go back to your dorm. Wherever your trash can is, move it to a different space. They came back the next class and they said, oh my God, it was hilarious. They said because usually what you're doing is you crumple something up, you toss it in the trash can. Except now you've tossed it over here, but you moved the trash can over there.
Right.
They said it was hilarious. And some of them said our dorm rooms aren't that big, but even just moving it from here, like 4 feet over here, or if it was under my desk and now I moved it like behind my desk. It's just simple things like that. But it's like, they said it got to the point where I'd be in mid, ready to throw, going, wait, it's not there. Where did I put it? And again, but that's the whole point. It's just engaging your brain.
Oh, we're going to do that one, definitely.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's all right. So talk to us. What do you think? What do you have? You have notes there.
I do have notes because I knew a lot of this, how your brain is connected with your physical abilities, but I didn't know the technical terms, so I had to look up. And I learned this great big long thing, which we'll talk about. But physical exercise increases blood flow, and anytime you do that, all of your organs are going to work better, including your brain. And it actually helps you produce new brain cells.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like you say, trying new activity. That's why in my class, I don't teach two classes the same. I switch things up. I turn things around, which can be really aggravating to some of my peeps. But that's what it's for.
That's what it's for.
And spatial awareness, and that's how your brain improves over time. But I actually looked up. There's a protein.
Okay.
That's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Okay.
And even in the articles that I read, they keep saying BDNF because that's a big long thing.
Yep.
So BDNF is a protein, and it actually creates a molecule that encourages new brain cell growth.
Yep.
And that comes from exercise. And what they stressed in all the articles that I read, and actually I knew this, is that there are many different ways to work out. But they're talking about cardiovascular exercise.
Okay.
So we're talking about walking, running, dancing. If
Swimming.
Swimming is good. My class, we do 25 minutes of cardio in every class. And as I said, and every time it's different. Which is kind of hard to do, but we do it. And that gets your heart rate up too, which increases blood flow. It's all, a big circle.
It's all connected.
And you can't really not improve your brain health by doing cardio exercise. Not that yoga and strength training aren't good for you. Of course they are. But increasing blood flow, and some people say that, like they call it active yoga, we'll do that too, where you move through the positions.
Okay.
But that's very, very important. Now, my classes, I always tell them, and they hate it when I say this, you should have 150 minutes a week. If you are a mild to mid exercise person, which we are after a certain age, 150 minutes per week. And that could include things like gardening and some activities too.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to walk for 150 minutes a week, a week. Sorry, but that's the now for you, Tina.
Yes, ma'am.
The active runner person.
Yeah.
It's more. What did I say? 75 minutes per week.
Okay.
Because you push.
Yeah.
You're working at a higher
Yeah,
level.
yeah. Okay,
So
yep.
at a higher
Mhm.
level, you
Yep.
can get away with 75.
Okay.
But at my level and my peeps level,
Yep.
150
Yep.
minutes
Okay.
a week. So that's a good rule to go by.
Yeah.
And you want to do at least 20 minutes at a clip.
Yep.
So if you're walking and you're going to walk for half an hour, that's good. You also have to consider, and we've been talking about this in class, the level.
Yep.
Level 1 is walking. Level 2 is walking. Level 3 is walking.
Walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have to figure out what level you're at,
Mm-hmm.
and that determines, how long you can go. My recommendation over age 60, it's more important that you have duration
Mm-hmm.
than trying to increase your speed. I would recommend that you go longer.
Yes.
At a moderate speed.
Yep.
Because that is what helps your body and your brain to get the blood flow at a constant level for a longer amount of time.
And I would say that not just for walkers, but I would say that for lots of different activities. And I have done that myself with running. I don't wear a stopwatch. I really don't care. I'll just go out, and I don't care about my pace because I solve all the world's problems. So that takes, I slow down while I'm solving problems.
Yep.
And I find that that's just better for me. But I would say the same thing for those who like to cycle, for those who like to swim. Just get yourself into a rhythm. Don't worry. We're not competing in the Olympics. We're not on the Olympic trials. So
Right.
just
But
go with that and extend your time
Right.
as opposed
Extend your
to,
time.
right.
Yes, but every once in a while,
Okay.
it's a good thing to do what I used to do, and I used to drag my mother-in-law, where you're out walking and you're looking at the pretty flowers, and then all of a sudden, for 1 minute, just walk as fast
Yep.
as you can.
Yep.
And then slow down again, and then 1 minute, walk as fast as you can. One time I took a group to Stanley Park, and every time we passed a big group of trees, we would stop and go over,
and do your
pushes
push-ups.
against the,
Yeah.
against the tree.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that just challenges your brain a little more to think about what you're doing.
So going for a walk in Stanley Park with Carol is going to be a trip. Right? You're going to be hugging trees and doing
benches. We would sit on the bench, get up,
and
sit
get up.
on the
yep,
bench,
mhm.
get up. Yeah,
Doing that, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, all
Perfect.
good for your brain.
So all good for your brain. Well, I'm looking at the clock. I'm surprised that Pete hasn't told me we're like way over. But here we are. But this is it. No, this has been great. Thank you so much, Carol. So we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about, get up, get moving, try some new things, try some different things. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to go out with, in honor of Aphasia Awareness Month, and we all talked about that. We're going to go out listening to the Bee Gees singing Jive Talk, and we'll be back.
I love the Bee Gees.
I know.